I'm Adil Dalal. I'm the CEO of Pinnacle Process Solutions. I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona at the ASQ Lean Six Sigma Conference, and we'll be taking you through a journey on Keep It Simple, getting back to the basics of lean technology. This has been a wonderful experience, and most importantly, thanks to all of you for being here. And I want to thank the hosts of this conference for giving me this opportunity to bring this conference to a momentous climax and a close. Namaste. That's a word used when we greet people in India. I did not understand the deeper meaning of this word until I saw this.
Namaste, Jerome, means the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. Y'all missed it. Namaste means the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you.
So I start this presentation with a namaste to all of you. Very important journey today. We have only 1 hour to cover that. We'll try to see how much we can cover. We want to review the fundamentals of lean. We want to ask some tough questions about the lean technology, see where we are, and also recalibrate our road. And then, hopefully, we will discover some new beginnings by the end of this presentation. So in a quest to find a deeper meaning, I want to ask you, how many of you know a deeper meaning of this symbol? This is a very important symbol. How many of you understand the deeper meaning of this? Let me show you. This symbol will define the time between your first breath and your last one. It will define every thought, every word, and every action you have ever taken. The dates out there are extremely significant to me because they belong to my dad. He passed away just 38 days ago in Mumbai, India. He was a very unique individual. People who knew him loved him a lot because of his simplicity and his childlike innocence. If we were ever at a party and the host would come around to say, "How is the food?" very innocently, he would complain about it. Say the rice has no salt, and another dish is very cold, and the entire family would be embarrassed. But to him, just like a child, he would just, be very brutally honest about things. He fell sick earlier this year, and he was rushed to the ICU, and I left for India, and when I went to the ICU, it was very difficult for me to see him on a ventilator with tubes and equipment all around him. So my sister and I, we were in the ICU, and my sister said, "Adil is here," and I told him hello, not expecting any reply because he was under strong anesthesia. I was shocked. He nodded his head and he opened his eyes for a split second. And I could see into those deep blue eyes for that 1 second. And although he passed away very soon after that, that simple act of his will stay with me for the rest of our life because that was the relationship we shared. We did not need words. So he left a legacy with me with that final action of his. Just lose my dad, I lost somebody very important too, very recently, which was 6 months ago. The ASQ family lost the past chair of our division, Wayne. Wayne was like a brother to me. He was also a very unique individual. If you did not know him, I think you missed something. I've written a small article in his memory, and I call him a self-deprecating comedian with a heart of gold. For 6 years, he battled cancer. And he never let us know. A lot of people did not know what he was going through. He would always be laughing, always be joking about being in rehab, and we didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He battled cancer for 6 years, and finally, he lost the war, but he went with a smile. So to me, these two people, the dash in their life has left a legacy. Has left a legacy of positive thoughts, positive words, and positive deeds. And I dedicate this presentation to both of them. Just like human beings, any process or technology also has a dash. Let's look at the history of that dash. Lean actually started with craft production, went into exchangeable parts, and then we had process charting. We had Mr. Taylor working on different things, and Henry Ford was the key leader in Lean at that time. Jumping ahead, we had quality gurus, we had the Toyota gurus, the TPS system gurus, and we had Mr. Womack. And the journey continues. We know these people as the leaders of Lean. Let me ask you, he is not from manufacturing, but is he a Lean leader? How many of you know who Muhammad Yunus is? Give me a... He is a classic case of Lean. Muhammad Yunus won the Nobel Prize because he solved a problem in Bangladesh which nobody else could. The only solution for people who are striving in poverty was self-employment. And the problem was that the commercial institution and the loan sharks were actually pushing them deeper into the abyss of poverty by the high interest rates. All they needed was something like $1 to start the business, raising livestock, doing handicrafts, but they were fleecing them. The people were not only going hungry, they were dying. Yunus created a solution of microfinancing with low interest rates, giving them exactly what they needed with enough leeway so that they could be successful. By 2015, it's estimated that almost 100 million people will not only be out of poverty, but their lives will be saved. Why is he a Lean thinker? Because he looked at poverty from the point of view of the poor. He looked at it from the point of view of a customer. He removed the muda brilliantly by eliminating the commercial banks and the loan sharks. And he created value for the lives of the people. So to me, he is a true Lean thinker. Steve Jobs, is he a Lean thinker? Yes, he is, because who else is a bigger innovator today and simplifying things and innovating? Einstein. The simple equation and the classic equation of E is equal to mc squared has changed our world. He's revolutionized nuclear physics, fission, fusion, hydroelectricity. All our lives are better because of his simplicity. Created a very simple solution, and Einstein had a famous quote. He said, "Make things simple, but not simpler." As you can tell, I'm very passionate about Lean. I love Six Sigma too, but I'm passionate about Lean. It's a quote I had: every manager, executive, or government official needs to be aware that if they are not using Lean, they are truly throwing away the money. But just like we love our child, we want it to grow out to be to the full potential. When I look at Lean, I have a bit of sadness there. I don't think we're using and raising this child to its full potential. We're missing a big piece of it. So I'm going to ask some tough questions. Why are we not getting the full benefits of lean technology even after 100 years of lean, the history I showed you? Why are we not getting the results? If you remember, the last decade we went through the economic tsunami. Do you agree? Washington was fat and green. Now, okay, it went through a shock. A lot of lean companies were also wiped out with the tsunami. Why are a significant amount of lean initiatives deemed to be to some level of failures? We heard many case studies. Even in the military, sustainment is an issue. Here is a quote from Vince, call it invincibility, from Vince Lombardi, the person who knew how to win. He said, winning is not a sometime thing, it's an all-time thing. You do not win once in a while. You don't do things right once in a while. You do it right every time. Winning is a habit, and so is losing. Which habit are we forming? So there is an antidote to this. There is a three-step process. We need to get back to the basics. We need to understand the essence, and we need to simplify. So here is the universal truth. Here is when you simplify it to the root cause, complexity and chaos are two sides of the same coin. So are simplicity and sophistication. Colin Powell says, great leaders are always great simplifiers. They cut through any argument, any doubt, and they give you a solution which anyone can understand. So when we look at our lean world, when you see this, what do you see? Do you see productivity? Do you see efficiency? Or you see chaos? When you see a spaghetti chart, when you see a value stream map, which is utterly complex, chaos is the only result from that. Whereas when you have a system like this, you know it's going to be productive and efficient. So here is a quote I wrote in 2009. I think it's a little short, correct? Does it cover everything? I think I may have to add a few slides to this quote. A French philosopher, Pascal, he wrote a long letter to one of his colleagues, and he said, at the PS, I apologize for writing this long letter. I did not have time to write a shorter one. Okay? So between 2009 and now, I found some time, so I've come up with a new definition. Lean is nothing but the science of simplicity. Boiling things down to the essence. That's all it is. Common sense, which is so uncommon right now. In this complex world, we always look for complex solutions, and sometimes the solution is right in front of our eyes. Brings us to our topic today. Keep it simple, back to the basics. Talk about three fundamental forgotten principles of lean. Lean is about people, not techniques. Lean is a mindset, not a tool set. Lean is a journey, not a destination. And we'll dive deep into each one of these. So say you are a coach. I give you two choices. I have this wonderful basketball made by the best manufacturer in the world. And I have this best basketball player. You can pick one. Which one would you pick? It's a crazy question, right? It's a gimme. Okay? Basketballs don't win basketball games. It's the players who win the games, correct? Similarly, lean is not won by the tool set. It's won by our people. So if I were to ask you, why is our organization in business? The most common answer is making profits, or non-profits say we want adequate surplus so we can keep going. Would you agree? That's the core sense of a business. So let's go a little deeper. We are going deep into different things. This is a great thing to go dive deeper into, because lean cannot be successful if a corporation is not successful. So we need to understand the DNA of a corporation in order to understand why lean is failing. Utilizing the existing corporate model. Profits come from our customers, paying customers. Satisfied customers is who give us the payment. They will pay you only when you give them something of value. So it can be a manufacturing or it can be service. Let's say we are focusing on manufacturing. Any manufacturing has an upstream or a downstream process, which is supported by materials, by equipment, infrastructure, and people. Is this the entire model, or are we missing something in this? This is very important, guys.
Waste.
Waste. Who said that? You've seen my presentation. Mr. Tim E. Wood. When I ask Mr. Tim E. Wood, does he work? How many of you, I can tell you that Tim E. Wood works in your corporation. Can you tell me yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, he does. Tim E. Wood is nothing but this monster, 8-headed monster, which is transport, inventory, motion, energy, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, and defects. Or we can call him Mr. Muda. We have one more inhabitant in our factory called Mr. Variation, aka Mr. Mura. These are the well-known inhabitants of any corporation. Would you agree? So this is a realistic model. You see what happens when Muda and Mura play a role? Puts people under stress. And when that happens, your profit margins will go down. Would you agree? That's not all. Wait, there's more. There are external pressures too. Would you agree that there's Wall Street, shareholders, global competition, uncertainty, economic downturn affecting all of us? Would you agree to that? This looks very complex because it is. That's our corporation. Look at the level of complexity we have created. What is the result of this? Your profit margins are already small. What is the easy way out? Let go of the people. Would you agree? Workforce is shrinking. What happens to the people? This is what happens. Corporate beings under pressure. They have a total loss of control. This is what happens. Stress and fear. Would you agree? When you have stress and fear, you have disengagement. How can you expect them to be performing at their full potential when they are disengaged? So we do not have two amigos. We have three amigos in our corporation. Mr. Muda, Mr. Mura, and Mr. Disengaged, Mr. Muri. By the size, you can tell that Mr. Muri overshadows the other two. Would you agree? but it goes unrecognized in most corporations. So there's a lot of research being done of who is susceptible most to stress. There's research done on primates as well as human beings. So this is a very critical research for all of us. This is a hierarchical chart. Who do you think is most susceptible to stress? CEO or the operator? Anyone else? Operator or CEO? How many for CEO? How many for operator? Wow. I dabble a lot in neuroscience and understanding the brain. So this is part of the research done, is that the CEO, when they do a brain scan of a CEO, an area in the brain lights up. Whenever they experience some pleasure or some things which gives them joy, that area lights up bright. Okay. Whereas when a subordinate's brain is subjected to things which can create joy, nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's dull. The connectors in their brain are fragile. The neurons have shrunk down. They cannot make those connections now. The dopamine in their brain no longer exists. This is the impact of stress. This is a permanent damage. When we want to make most profits, what is important to us? Do you want the best equipment, the best people? Do you want people to be performing at the best? He's saying not only are we losing memory, even our decisions are not correct under stress.
Scientists studying mice are discovering all that stress can make us forget things or lead to other mental lapses. Mice are good but reluctant swimmers and can easily remember the location of a subsurface platform. But after hearing a series of stressful sounds, the mice have a harder time remembering. The University of Washington's Jen-Sok Kim has learned how stress affects the brain's ability to process information. He did that by listening to the hippocampus, part of the brain involved in learning and memory. He found that the same brain cells fired when the mouse identified a location and returned to it. But when the mouse was stressed,
following stress, the cell that fired in a particular location still fired at the same location, but tend to fire at a different frequency.
As he wrote in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Kim also found that stress slowed the brain's ability to connect brain cells that form memories and more.
It's not just memory, but how that memory is used for other higher cognitive functions, such as decision making.
In lean community, why do we keep talking about the Muda and Mura? Where is Muri? I'll tell you a real life example. One of my friends was working for a startup company, and the amount of stress he was going through caused him to collapse one day, and they rushed him to the hospital. His body was completely deformed. He could not walk. He could not even lift anything. Doctor said this is due to chronic stress. This was 30 years ago. He had to go through intense therapy. Even today, although he can walk, you can see the signs of that damage. So this is pretty serious business. But it is not only impacting human beings, it is impacting corporations. The employee engagement, today, this is the study done by Tower Perrin, 21% employee engagement, 79% disengaged. Study shows that if you have a workforce which is engaged, you have 19% more profit, versus if you're disengaged, 33% loss. That swing is 50%. That's a pretty significant swing. Now you see the complexity and the chaos. But there is more, right? We didn't include Mr. Murray in there. What happens when you add the stress to the equation of the previous model is that the employees are truly cannot perform, and not only will the customers leave, you also have dissatisfied customers. So you started out to make money, but That's not possible with the current situation. How many of you feel that this is a true representation? Be honest. This is what happens. So I'm saying this model is incorrect. We need to get back to the basics, understand the essence of corporations, simplify. One of the articles I wrote, things do not appreciate, only people do. Economic downturns, time to pull employees up, not push them down. Great leaders understand that this economic crisis is a burning platform. It's a ready-made burning platform, and they can tap into the creativity of people. And creative people can do things beyond their own imagination. So motivated creativity is nothing but innovation. What we are doing is we are breaking down the foundation of our building. Whenever there is trouble, we let go employees, we break down the pillars. We break down the foundation. And research has shown the people who have invested in their own talents and own employees during that time have got a 200% return on their investment. That's the right model. The thing is, great leaders know that the only area where you can really have the best performance is the zone of pinnacle performance. Just like top athletes, they always are stretched slightly beyond their capacity, not completely extended so that they collapse. A great leader knows how to do that correctly and keep their employees growing. Here is the difference between a corporate being and a human being. If we follow this model of avoiding workhorses and creating racehorses, do you think we'll get a better corporation today? So lean is truly about people. So model of a true lean organization. If we had a blank sheet of paper and we start from fresh, this is what we have seen, the basics of a foundation. There is still the profit. We still want to make profit. We still have people who are stressed. What can we do? Let's get rid of that. Let's develop leaders. Let's develop people. Toyota says hitozukuri is the goal, not monozukuri. Hitozukuri is making people. Monozukuri is making things. Those people, those leaders will not only satisfy customers but delight your customers because they are full of joy. They are at the peak. They are at the pinnacle of performance. As a byproduct, your profits will double. Is this feasible? Much better model. Win-win. Would you agree? Set out to talk about 3 points. First one is very critical. This one. Types of lean organizations, there is non-lean and true lean, but in between, there is a big piece called pseudo-lean. Everyone knows what a non-lean is. The pseudo-lean, we need to understand this very well. Okay? What is pseudo-lean organization? Let me give you a neuroscience light lessons. Anytime we learn something new, in our brain there are connections which are being made. Our brain physically changes. New connections sprout. The connections get strengthened by repetition and practice. We've heard that, but we don't understand that this process continues throughout our last breath. People think, oh, we won't know that. Only kids can do that. No, process continues. There is definite research done. In your brain, there is a topographical map of your entire body. It's called the hippocampus. There is a physical representation of your entire body in the brain. So if you develop certain areas of your brain, guess what happens? That literally that brain, just like you would build a body, that brain becomes stronger. You are truly changing the brain. So let's look at culture. So if you start with the brain, culture is nothing but family, department, corporation, or a nation. It's making the right connections. But it all starts with one individual. That's what culture is. Culture is a collective mindset, alive and dynamic and constantly changing and evolving. So when people talk about culture change, it is automatically changing. What are you trying to do? Whether you like it or not, it is changing. What you have to focus on is culture enrichment. That is true lean. When you're in trouble, the only tool you aim for, I want lean. When you scream for lean. When you really think that is the only tool which will help you get out of that mess. You will always instinctively go for that. That's what true lean is. How many of you have seen this, House of Toyota? How many of you live in a house? Raise your hand. How many of you live in a house? I'm sorry. Sincerely sorry. How many of you live in a home? You see that subtle difference? A house is a structure. A home has something more. There are emotions, there are bonds. There is much more. That is a subtle difference between pseudo-lean and true lean. Okay, let me give you one more example. Okay, non-lean has no presence of lean. Pseudo-lean is skin deep. But true lean, not only are you a lean thinker, you feel lean, but there's more. You are almost in a state of lean. It's something more. It's being there. Again, there is a very subtle difference between true lean and pseudo-lean organizations. If I were to ask you, are you humble? And if you answer yes, you're not humble. That's the same way. If you ask an organization, are you lean? If they answer yes, they have to go back to the drawing board. Okay. Very subtle differences, but very critical differences. Come to the end of the road. Lean is a journey, not a destination. Flavor of X syndrome. Flavor of the week, flavor of the month, flavor of the year, flavor of 5 years. Lynn Allen talked about 5 years, right? Anything sticks for 5 years in the organization, then something new. So we all suffer from the flavor of X syndrome. Do you agree? Pick this tool, don't like it, go for the other flavor. Don't like vanilla, let's choose chocolate. What happens to your strategy? It gets derailed. There is no connection between your strategies. When you use this as a strategy, it's a problem. So what do we need to do? Let's make a long-term choice. Make a long-term commitment. That's the road we need to take. We need to plan ahead. Strategy is not a 1 week or a 2 week thing, not a 1 or 2 year thing. It is beyond the lifespan of the leader to keep the corporation going. So you got to have a strategy, have a choice, which is long term. So say you select Lean Six Sigma as your choice. Where would you put it? At the back of the train? The ones who use the Lean tool and Six Sigma tools as the engine. Everything they do, every culture change, everything from the janitor to the CEO, everyone is thinking lean. Long term, the only instinctive tool they are using is the lean tool. They have a big tool set, but the core tool set is the lean tool set because it is common sense. It is simplicity. If they create chaos, they know there is no other option. It is going to backfire on them. It's going to derail the company. So the only thing they can do is keep simplifying. In order to have that, you need somebody who can lead, somebody with a vision. That is the most critical thing. So when I say lead, what does that mean to you? What is leadership? Anyone? What is leadership? Give me a definition. Lead. What's that?
Showing the way, leading by example.
Leading by example, okay.
Follow me.
Follow me. Very good. Anyone else? What's that? Okay, wonderful.
Servant leadership, taking care of your people so they take care of you.
Okay, very good.
Taking people where they wouldn't go on their own.
Charting the path. I have a different definition of leadership. Lead is leave everything appreciated on departure. Okay. Just like a relay race, you want to make sure you set up the next person for success. A true leader sets up the next person for success. That is the essence of leadership. If you cannot do that, you are not a good leader. So true lean needs true leaders. So true leaders turn the dash into infinity. So just like my dad and Wayne left us a legacy, lean like a legacy has no end. They live on. So our goal is to exist in the true state of true lean. That is the journey. That is our goal. Our goal should be a little broader than that too. We need to have a true lean planet Earth. That's the only home we have. Nowhere else to go. We need to start thinking right now. And corporations form a very critical piece of our planet. They are the sustenance. If we stress out all the people, if we create the environment of fear and stress and disengagement, reaching the state is very difficult. So there are 3 points. Value your appreciating assets. Live in the true lean state. Leave a legacy. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. The divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Adil, I want to thank you so much for your power, your words, your contributions. I was very inspired as I was looking around the room while you were speaking. I saw people just literally hanging on every word and every slide that you were talking about. Inspiration, motivation, the power of people. So that's exactly the type of message that people want to walk away from a conference feeling so they can take that back. And I think just by virtue of the people that came up to you afterwards and some of the comments that I overheard them telling you on how what they felt after hearing that was just an outstanding message. And I really appreciate the power and the impact of what you were able to contribute to this conference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.